Should you still be dropping voicemails? The answer is it depends on your situation, your product, but I can tell you this, if done incorrectly, it can waste you a ton of time or even negatively impact your sales efforts. Today I'm going to share what I've learned after nearly 10 years of high ticket sales and booking thousands of sales calls. You're going to learn exactly who should and who shouldn't be leaving voicemails. Also, make sure to stay to the end because I'm going to share with you my exact voicemail template that I've perfected over the years to get a huge bump in callbacks. Alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, so let's just get to it. So should you be leaving voicemails? In general, short answer, probably not. Most of the time, no. That's not always the case, and we're going to be talking about that. But in general, voicemails, as you might imagine, are kind of outdated. People don't even check their voicemail boxes. You'd be surprised how many people just purposely leave their voicemail boxes full so they can't get it anymore. It's just kind of a dead contact method in general. However, that's not entirely the case, and we'll get into that in a second here. So let's talk about the pros, though. What are some good aspects? Reason to leave a voicemail. Well, it's another touch point. You are adding another time where they're hearing the name of you and their company. More touch points, the more familiar a prospect gets to you, the more likely they are to sign up, the more likely they are to move forward. And of course, just in general, there are some people that do check and return voicemails, of course, particularly certain demographics. We're going to get into that in a second. It's not 100% dead. There are rarely absolutes, particularly in something like sales, right? There are simply ranges. There are ranges to where you have to just take the percentages over many dials. Is this worth it? Is this a good use of your time and your energy? And is this going to get you the returns you want with that amount of time? You have to weigh that. Let's talk about some big negatives of voicemails. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They have a very low response rate. They're kind of abysmal in general. They take a lot of time. I mean, leaving a voicemail, it takes, if you do it fast, 10 seconds, but usually it'll take like 20 to 30 seconds to leave a voicemail. If you're making a lot of dials, you got 50, you got 100 calls to make in a day, that adds up, man. 30 seconds on 60 voicemails, I should know that. That's 30 minutes a day just dropping voicemails. Or you could just be making calls and actually getting pickups. And another thing too is if they can piss people off, or more importantly, they can tip your cards to where they now have your number to where actually if you're reaching out to someone cold and they now know your company, I would argue many times they're likely to not want to call you back anymore because they now know who you are and what you're about, and so they might actually block you in the future. Alright, it's not all negative. I did say at the beginning that there are some times when voicemails could be worth your while, so let's get into that right now. So if it's a high ticket item, right, it's a very high ticket, many thousands of dollars, to where every prospect is extremely valuable, it's worth your time to drop a 20 to 30 second voicemail. And this also goes back to if there's a long sales cycle as well. A lot of times, particularly if you're doing B2B sales and things like this, it might be 6 months to a year or something to get a deal signed. So when you're talking about that much effort to make a sale drop, what's another 30 seconds if it's taken 6 months to a year to sign the deal? In general too, whenever you want to go really deep on a prospect list, when might you want to do that? Well, let's say you don't have that many prospects. Let's say you only have 20 prospects you can call, 30 prospects that are a good fit for your business. You don't want to just you can burn through 30 calls in a couple hours. So in that case, it's worth your time to go really deep and try and get as much as you can out of every list. Also, in general, it's good to leave a voicemail to when you actually have spoken with the prospect in the past. You maybe have already done a call, you've done a follow-up call, they haven't showed up for their follow-up call, they've sent you an email, things like this. There's already some of that familiarity. They've already kind of shown some life. That's kind of a different story, right? Because you know that this person already has some interest. They're already warmed up a bit. So that might be a good time to actually start dropping voicemails. Okay, so that's when you should be dropping voicemails. When shouldn't you be dropping voicemails? When are basically the hard no's. So in general, if the prospect is under 50, not worth the drop of voicemail, so don't even do it. Hey, real quick, if you do want to learn how to optimize your sales process, smash quotas, and all other sales related stuff, please subscribe below. Okay, when also would you not want to leave a voicemail? Well, if you're not selling a high ticket item, I generally consider anything over $1,000 high ticket, but you might want to adjust that. Maybe it's $5,000, maybe it's $10,000 item. If it's over $10,000, maybe it's worth it to drop a voicemail. If it's only $1,000, $500, probably not worth it, right? And this also goes back to the sales cycle. If it's a really quick sales cycle, typically less than a week or a couple weeks or something like this, you probably shouldn't be leaving voicemails because it's just better for you to call and send text messages and emails, things that get faster responses. And last one, when the cold calling, when the lead is really cold, you're cold calling, you're doing a LinkedIn outreach, don't leave a voicemail. You're just telling them to not call you back because you're just telling them it's a solicitation, so they're more likely to block your number than actually give you a call back. Okay, so how do you leave a voicemail? Okay, so let's say you've determined that it is worthwhile for you to leave a voicemail from what I was just explaining. How do you leave a voicemail most effectively so you get the most amount of callbacks? Bottom line, you essentially want to make it as easy as possible for them to return the call. So how do you do that? Let's look at this template here. What I would do is I basically call them, say, hey, this is name from your company. Leave your phone number twice. You want to leave your phone number twice so they don't have to actually go back and listen to it again. I'm calling because of reason. The better reason you give them, the more likely it is for them to call back, right? And then leave the phone number one more time in case they didn't get it at the beginning. So let me read that to you. So here's how this might sound. Hey, this is Jacob Bushmaker from the Sales Solution. Phone number 123-123-1234. Again, that's 123-123-1234. I'm calling because you filled out a request for more information about how the service works. Again, the number is 123-123-1234. Right. And you can time that, that took what, 20 seconds, something like this. Not even, probably like 10 to 15 seconds. Really quick, just so you can hopefully get a quick call back. Now, the last thing, what is a good callback from voicemail? In my honest opinion, if it's more than a 0% callback, you're doing well. Okay, I've dropped thousands of voicemails over the years, and I basically stopped doing it in most situations because the response rate is too low. So if you're getting any callbacks at all from voicemails, you're absolutely crushing it. Okay. Okay, that's it for today, guys. If you have any questions or if there's anything you want to see on the channel, please drop me a comment. Thank you.